How to keep from losing your temper with your spouse. Every couple argues. And it's no surprise, after all, being with someone for so long, and being so close to someone, is bound to lead to spats and debates here and there. The problem with most couples today is not that they argue, but that they do not argue or discuss things constructively. We often let our emotions take over instead of reasoning things out, and oftentimes this leads us to say or do things we later regret. Fortunately, there are ways you can avoid this. Constructive discussion is not only a simple and easy thing to achieve, it's also necessary for any relationship. Here are 5 ways you can learn to come to peaceful compromise and resolution with your significant other. Point 1. You need to work on preventing arguments before they happen. Now that sounds awfully strange, doesn't it? Not really, when you think about it. With most couples, it's the small things that make a person eventually blow up. They let numerous small annoyances sweep on by without a word, bottling them up until eventually they just have to explode. And of course, whenever there's an explosion, you can expect chaos. Anyone who's flying off the handle is most likely not using their sense or logic to discuss things, but instead merely aiming to hurt the other person. Obviously, this is not good for any relationship, and needs to be avoided completely. Discuss these annoyances as they arise without nitpicking or nagging over every little thing. In this, you will prevent so many future arguments from ever happening. Point 2. Step 2 brings attention to the solution of the argument. You need to make sure that you go into a discussion with the intent of coming up with a solution to the problem, and nothing else. There is no room for petty anger or picking fights. Keep in mind the things you say and the way you act, and make sure it is appropriate for emphasizing a constructive atmosphere. If you focus on trying to be constructive, you are less likely to run off at the mouth and say things that you don't mean, and that will help your discussion and your relationship. Point 3. How you begin your discussion is also very important. This is going to set the mood, and also determine how your partner initially reacts. Remember, you want a constructive discussion, so try to shape one. One thing to avoid is surprising your partner with the matter out of the blue. When you do this, they are naturally going to have an emotive reaction, which isn't what you want. Bring it up intentionally, don't let the matter be stumbled upon. Set aside some time to work on the issue, and when you bring up the discussion, make sure you have a cool head. Point 4. You must try to keep their perspective in mind. Every argument, every debate has 2 sides of the story involved, and this is something that almost everyone forgets in the heat of the moment. You must keep in mind that a truly happy solution and outcome has to be able to please both parties, and to make sure this happens, you need to do your very best to try and see their point of view. Try to look at things from their perspective, and try to think how you would feel. By making sure you consider their side of the story, you can work much more effectively at coming up with a solution that will make you both happy. Point 5. Finally, clarify your communication. How you communicate is extremely important, and nothing is as important as how well you both understand each other. People have different ways of explaining and showing their feelings, and it can be easy to misunderstand what they mean. Try to make sure you are both on the same page. Rephrase what you think is their stance on the issue, just so they can clarify it for you. Try to make your own explanations as clear as you possibly can. Only when you both understand each other can you constructively reach a resolution that you both are happy with. It can be hard to keep a cool head in an argument, but by keeping these 5 points in mind, it can become much simpler. Just remember that the point of every argument should be the finding of a solution, and a solution needs to fix things for everyone. Try to keep your head calm, and start a discussion off on a reasonable, constructive note. If you can do all of this, you and your partner will be able to avoid many of those destructive blowouts.